Okay. Advantages and disadvantages of auditory verbal approach. Children can use their listening and visual skills to develop spoken language. They are fully included in the classroom, and they do feel more comfortable in the hearing community. The goal of auditory verbal is for children who are deaf or hard of hearing to grow up in a typical learning and living environment that enables them to become independent, participating, and contributing citizens. Some disadvantages of auditory verbal is that if the parent does not dedicate their time to the child, teaching them everyday skills and taking them out and having them relate what they've learned to everyday life, that can limit their progress. Also, auditory verbal centers and therapists are limited. So finding one in a rural or remote area is going to be difficult. It's also going to be probably pricey because it's also not publicly funded. Another disadvantage is that it does limit the students' interaction with the deaf community. People who are more oral typically do not communicate with someone who's sign language because they don't know each other's method or way of communicating. Then we have oral transliteration. This is where the interpreter or the oral translator repeats what the speaker says, and the student lip reads the interpreter or transliterator to follow the conversation. With this approach, the transliterator does not interrupt the rest of the room. They simply mouth a speaker's words silently. Oral transliteration was developed and is typically beneficial for people who are raised orally, are familiar with speech or lip reading, and do not know sign language. That is also the philosophy behind oral transliteration. Oral transliteration methods can be used in the classroom, in groups, or in conference settings. Oral transliterators, their job is to help the student follow the conversation. Otherwise, the student would be looking around for the speaker, not exactly knowing where the speaker is at, and in the meantime missing out on valuable information. So the transliterator is there to help the student follow the conversation and articulate clearly and use lots of gestures and facial expressions. The transliterator uses gestures similar to mimes in order to clarify easily misunderstood words, proper pronouns, and numbers. Oral transliteration unfortunately doesn't have a lot of technology. However, some students do use hearing aids or cochlear implants in combination with oral transliteration. Some advantages and disadvantages of oral transliteration are that the interpreters are typically very skilled at pronouncing words clearly with their lips. They don't edit the content or the meaning of the message. They do remain faithful to the speaker's intent, and they use facial expressions and natural gestures that support the message. If someone has an accent, slur, or mustache, the transliterator does make clear what the other people are saying to the student. A disadvantage of oral transliteration is that if there's a room full of people, it's going to be very difficult to see the speaker's face, therefore making it unsuccessful to speech read or lip read, especially when some of the words are really hard to lip read. Accents, unclear speech, mumbling, and facial hair can disrupt the message if they are looking for a speaker. It's a lot more helpful to depend on the transliterator than someone else who's not experiencing or who's not good at experienced at pronouncing the words very clearly. Also, it's very difficult for deaf or hard of hearing to be skilled at both English and speech reading. So very few people use this system. Then we have cued speech. Definition is combination of speech reading and 8 specific hand shapes. This is a pretty crazy one. I still haven't really quite figured this one out, but hand shapes are all placed next to the speaker's mouth so that the individual can see the speaker's lips and the hand movements at the same time. The hand shapes are placed on different parts of the face to represent consonant phonemes and vowel sounds. The philosophy was developed between 1965 and 1986 by a PhD at Gallaudet University named R. Oren Cornett. He developed cued speech to better students' literacy. He understood that mastering the phonemic base of spoken languages is the key to learning a language in all its forms, including reading, writing, speaking, and understanding. Some methods of cued speech are that it provides children with the building blocks necessary for sophisticated language skills, and it facilitates the achievement of higher standards of literacy than other communication methods. Education teachers can use cued speech for teaching phonics. Speech therapists use cued speech for articulation therapy, and deaf and hard of hearing use cued speech to reestablish communication with their friends and family. Some technology of cued speech, there's quite a bit. They have dailycues.com has sling flashcards, therapy flashcards, cued speech software including Cue Reading 1. Texting cued language are available on CD-ROM, and then the NCSA, or the National Cued Speech Association, has cued camps, IQUQ CD-ROM, Discovering Cued Speech Instructional Video or DVD, workbook set, and then they also have beginning lessons in cued speech, General American English audio cassette tape, and instructional booklet. Some advantages and disadvantages of cued speech is that it eliminates communication barriers because it is representing the consonant phonemes and vowel sounds. It can be learned in approximately 18 hours. Normally, interaction is restored quickly, hence it can be learned in 18 hours. Any word in approximately 60 languages and dialects can be cued. It is a good foundation for reading and writing English. However, this also is not a language. Some sounds do look alike, so it's very important for someone to use the hand cues. If the hand cues are not used, then sometimes there can be some confusion with the vowels and the phonemes. Lip and hand movements cannot be recognized from if someone is far apart from you, so it's important for someone to be close so that they can recognize those lip and hand movements. It is not available everywhere. There is a limited amount of cued speech transliterators and users. Also, cued speech cannot communicate with ASL users as well.